and leaving the northeastern area and Porta di Stabia unexplored. Despite the city's proximity to the sea and the presence of mountains to the southwest, Pompeii had a strong, solid wall, which was modified on various occasions. During the Samnite Wars, the city walls were fortified, and parts were rebuilt with interior embankments and 7 doors to provide public access to the city. Later, when Hannibal descended, the city raised the height of its wall and added a walkway. This last intervention also added 12 watchtowers with 2 floors and openings, like the Tower of Mercury. The Forum was the heart of the city's daily life. It was designed as an open area surrounded by buildings for public administration, as well as worship and trade. In the Augustan age, many buildings were added, including the Macellum, dedicated to the imperial cult and sacred collegium meetings. Among these fascinating remains, the frieze that decorated the lobby of Julia Felix's house is one of the most interesting. It depicts life at the Forum: metal craftsmen, cloth and livestock merchants, bread sellers, and people offering products from the countryside can be seen, while teachers are in the middle of their open-air lessons, reprimanding their scholars. These scenes from everyday life are depicted against the rich background of monumental porticos and equestrian statues. On the northern side of the Forum, with all the weight of Vesuvius in the background, Jupiter's temple was erected, a real Capitolium based on the famous temple in Rome. It was decorated with 3 statues, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, placed on tall bases so that they could be seen from the Forum, and completed with an ornate podium decorated with 2 equestrian statues. The Basilica was the most sumptuous building in the Forum. This is where business was conducted and justice was administered. Inside, it held the court, where the magistrate sat, and was divided into 3 naves with 2 rows of columns. The Basilica of Pompeii represents one of the oldest examples of this building type. Built on the strategic street that ran from the marine port to the city center, this is one of the oldest existing examples of a religious building. The temple was placed on a tall podium and was surrounded by a portico. Its altar was positioned at the center of the internal courtyard. It was also connected to Piazza Forense. The triangular Forum was located on a steep lava ridge and is considered one of the oldest and most sacred areas of the city. The Forum was accessible from Via dei Teatri, and this Doric temple was dedicated to Athena and Heracles, who was considered to be the city founder. In addition to the temple, the location included a circular building and a gymnasium with a podium for ceremonies and prizes. The theatre district was home to the large theatre and the Odeon. The first was built in the middle of the 2nd century BC, but it was immediately renovated to meet Roman taste. Initially, both tragedies and comedies were held here, but after the 62 BC earthquake, it became the gladiators' dwelling. The Odeon was covered to improve acoustics and held shows by mimes, as well as singing and musical events. The cult of Isis was one of the most popular and widespread regions in the Mediterranean, and its temple was placed on a tall podium, with an altar in front of it placed in the center of an arcaded court. Behind it, there was a room for initiates to meet and a sacrarium decorated with scenes from the life of the goddess. Baths played an important role in the Roman world. The Stabian baths are among the oldest known to us. They had a pool and areas for men and women who were strictly segregated, but their rooms were organized in the same way. with a dressing room that connected to pools for cold, warm and hot baths. Warm air was provided for the entire building through a system of tubes and double flooring that circulated the hot air produced by the furnace and movable fireplaces. Noble dwellings, called domus, were built according to a standard layout. They had a courtyard with a pool in the center to collect water, an internal garden surrounded by a portico and surrounded by private and public rooms. The areas dedicated to receptions and banquets were decorated with elaborate mosaics on the floors and frescoes on the walls. The house of Julius Polybius, an important political exponent of the city, still has the kitchen and the lararium painted with the sacrificial rite, which the owners held in honor of the lares, domestic divinities. Pompeii's amphitheatre is one of the oldest known amphitheatres in the entire Roman world. The structure, which was completed in 70 BC, held up to 20,000 spectators and was located on the outskirts of town to facilitate the flux of such a large number of people. Spectators could reach the higher levels by using an external staircase, while a corridor led to the ground floor. The area around the city is characterized by the presence of country villas called ville d'hôtes, residential buildings that have large parts of their land allocated for agricultural activities. Even though these homes were normally located far from the city center, Villa of Diomede was attached to the antique city walls and is one of the city's largest buildings. Its floor plan covers over 3,500 square meters and is 3 stories tall. The gardens are one of the most suggestive parts of the